Hi, this is Suzanne Gregory, and I'm here to talk to you about Planned Parenthood. Their motto is care no matter what. Alexis McGill Johnson, the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood, has said that Planned Parenthood is going to continue to work to ensure access to care for everyone we can, everywhere we can, and in every way we can. It started out as the very first birth control clinic in 1916 when birth control was illegal in the United States. Planned Parenthood has continued to push for more rights for women's health, to reproductive and sexual health for women and all people. Today, they do remain a major healthcare provider and advocate, and are certainly in the news continuously pushing for greater health for all, and to be able to do what they currently do now, which is to care for many health and wellness needs. And they are the leading provider of sex education in the country. As part of Planned Parenthood's 2021 annual report, they reported that they took care of 2.16 million patients, and for those patients, they provided over 8.65 million healthcare services. There's a common misconception that Planned Parenthood provides mainly abortion services, but as you can see, that is simply untrue. The bulk of the services that they provide, almost half of them, over half of them, was testing and treatment for sexually transmitted infections. Next is birth control services at about 2.19 million, and also provided about 1 million other reproductive health services. 417,000 cancer screening and prevention services were rendered, and about 383,000 abortion services were completed. Planned Parenthood, as I said before, is the nation's largest sex education provider and has been providing sex education for 105 years. They have about 178 million visits to their website in the year 2020 and 2021. And during that time period, you have to remember this was the pandemic, and there was trouble getting in-person visits for many things. But still, Planned Parenthood managed to reach over 500,000 people for in-person sex education during that difficult time. There are about 4 million educational videos viewed, a great number of decision-making quizzes and conversations using their chat and text technology. There's another common misconception that Planned Parenthood gets a great deal of funding for abortion from the government, which is simply untrue. While they do receive 37% of their funding as reimbursement from the government, almost none of that is for abortion services. And that's because of something called the Hyde Amendment. The Hyde Amendment, which has been in place since 1976, prevents any federal funding from the government for abortion services for almost all types of abortion. There's only a very few exceptions, and that is in the case of rape, incest, or the life of the mother is at risk. Other than that, federal funding does not reimburse for any abortion services, but what it does do is reimburse for other health services like cancer screenings or sexually transmitted infection treatment or prevention. The second largest source of funding that Planned Parenthood has is private contributions. That's from donors, whether they be, private citizens or groups or organizations. That amounts to about 34% of their funding. Commercial health insurance plans reimbursement, that consists of about 21% of funding, and they have 8% of funding from other sources. Planned Parenthood does have 49 affiliates that span 50 states and Washington, D.C. that serve as an umbrella over 600 Planned Parenthood affiliate centers. The organization is a major influencer of access to reproductive health, and it does that in a number of ways. For instance, they challenged in the year 2020 and 2021, they challenged cases, over 40 cases in 21 states that were threatening access to reproductive or sexual health. And they were able to block harmful policies in about 2/3 of those cases. Planned Parenthood also helped develop a network of over 90 organizations that continually advocate for policies at the federal level to protect and expand access to sexual and reproductive health. Finally, Planned Parenthood did also create a vast media campaign called the BC campaign. It really with a goal to bring attention to the Planned Parenthood movement, perhaps bring in new donors, perhaps bring increased awareness, which influences voters. It gets people to call their government officials. And this campaign reached 43 million listens and views. Finally, Planned Parenthood's, who their clientele is. Largely, Planned Parenthood serves patients aged 20 and older. About 86% of their clientele are patients aged 20 and older. And unfortunately, a great deal of those patients are below 150% of the federal poverty level. So they really are a provider for those that may not have access to insurance, may not have access to other providers that will see them or render care. 70% of folks that they see are below 150% of the federal poverty level. Planned Parenthood really is an important provider for all women, for all people, for all healthcare needs, and has been a very important advocate for women's sexual and reproductive health, and will continue to do so in the future. Thank you.